RSI divergence. What is it? How do you spot it? And what does it mean? And then we're going to follow up with how do you play it? So why am I bringing up RSI divergence right now? Well, the reason I'm bringing that up right now is because it is currently playing out on the daily chart for Bitcoin. That plays directly into our Bitcoin miner plays that I like to highlight here on the channel. Now, for today's purposes, I'm going to use the SPY as my example right now. There's quite a few that you can see, and we'll play through it for the last couple of years. And I'm looking at the daily chart for SPY, and we're going to look at how it reacts to those. And then we'll move over to Bitcoin for the final little aspect there. So this is going to be just a little quick snippet for technical analysis, how to spot some of these things. What do they mean? How do you chart it? Okay. Anyways, so let's take a look at the SPY. Now, actually, luck would have it that we are actually currently showing an RSI divergence on the SPY. It is a bearish one, whereas Bitcoin is showing a bullish one, but the SPY is showing a bearish one. So you can see right now, so down here on the RSI, let's make this a little bit bigger. Actually, let's make this take up a good significant portion of our chart right now. I have reset my RSI settings to be the average setting that the indicator comes with. So it's going to be a 14 length RSI with 70 being the top, 30 being the bottom in terms of being oversold and overbought. And that's what I've done there. So you can see here at one point here, which was on June 18th, we were overbought pretty dramatically. It was up at 77, which is pretty high. It's not the highest, but it's pretty high. And at that time, price was at 548, 70 some odd cents on the SPY. Currently, the price is at 554 and 64 cents on the price, but the RSI is down at 74. That's an RSI divergence. Now let's show about what that means. So the RSI divergence is when you get a higher price, well, a difference in terms of price compared to the action of the RSI. So the RSI is lower while the price is higher. On the opposite side of things, it would be if the RSI is higher while the price is lower. Currently on the SPY, you can see right from here to here, there is a downward trend to this RSI, but there is an upward trend in price. Okay, that's the RSI divergence. You've spotted the divergence. And another thing to note is that the divergence is a lot more dramatic in terms of how it may react when price is oversold or overbought. You can see right now that price is significantly overbought, meaning that if this RSI divergence plays out, the bearish RSI divergence plays out, that it will be much more dramatic than if it weren't overbought. Now, how do we use this on the chart? So what we will do on the chart is I like to get out a ray. I come to the low. I mean, it could be this one, but I like more than one point. So I'm going to go to like this one, see how that plays out. I really want to, whatever one allows me to connect it to this point here on May 31st without cutting through the other candles. I don't think April will do it for me, but let's see. Yeah, no, it's not quite going to do it for me. So I want to be one on the bottom here, right, for that cycle low. And I'm thinking it's probably going to be this one is the one that lets me do it. Yeah. All right, so I want to have at least two, honestly. At least 2 points of reference on the way up. So this was kind of a double bottom area. I'm okay with using this right here. Now, some people might argue that this would be the more appropriate one, but I'm going to go with this one. All right, that's fine. This is where charting becomes a little bit of an art. All right, so what I'm looking for is price to trace back down into this line and see how it interacts with it. If it bounces off of it, the RSI divergence continues and gets worse and more dramatic. If it breaks through it, I am looking for price to come dramatically down pretty fast, probably down to an area of support. And in this case, just to get through that line, it would have to go through this support here from June 17th until July 2nd. And the next area of support would be somewhere between 533 and 525, which is all this area down here. That's where I'd be looking for price to come and either bounce and continue up, right? Maybe only up to here, 542. If it fails at 542, then we're in a full-on downtrend, and we're going to come back down towards the 500s, or to see it break through. And if it breaks through, then we're going to the 500s right now, because this is where that other level of support is on the chart. All right. And even if we come up from this level here at 525-ish area, if we fail to get back above 542, that is turning it into an Elliott wave, bringing it down. We're not going to go into any further discussions on Elliott waves right now. That's a whole other really long video. But right now, you just need to know that if price comes below 542 into this pocket of resistance between 535 and 525, and then comes back up to 542 and fails, that means we're going lower. That's all you need to know right now for the RSI divergence. So let's go find some examples in the chart where this has played out for us in the past. Let me get rid of some of these drawings here. I just got so many right now. So I'm going to leave this line on the chart of my SPY actually to watch for this RSI divergence and see if it plays out. So let's go find some RSI divergence. Okay, let's see. We may find some right here. Yeah, price was higher and then it broke. Okay, so let's take a look. We have one right here. So we had, let's draw it. We had RSI up here and it went down to here. So it went from 80 down to 77, which isn't too dramatic. And price went from 471 up to 477. Let's go ahead and draw our line here, and we went boom. And notice how when it closed beneath that line, it went further down. And it had honestly, it never went back above that trend line, so that's interesting. But it didn't go down too far, right? It came down into this area of support right here, and then turned around and went back up. And guess what? It went above the area of resistance, so that's how we knew it wasn't going to go further down, and in fact, it was going to go higher up. That's what I was talking about over here, right? If it comes and breaks this resistance, and then cannot get back above it, then it's likely to go further down. But if it comes right back above it, then it's going to continue on up. So that was one little example there. That one's pretty small. Let's go find a bigger one. Let's find some bearish one. All right, this is interesting. I like this one actually a lot. All right, so this is back in 2023, October 2023, where we did a bit of a bottoming out. Okay, let's do this. So we've got price on a downward trend, right? Okay, then we've got RSI, not really on too much of an upward trend, right? It was like pretty much flat. Honestly, it was almost flat. Notice how like much lower price, about the same RSI. Now that's a very weak divergence, but you get to play the same thing out of it. I don't know if I necessarily would have watched this one for that dramatic reversal, but same sort of scenario, right? Then you go along the tops here. I'm going to cut through this one on this time. Boom, right? Around this area. Honestly, you could have done it from here. Yeah, about right there. That would have been fine. Let me bring this bad boy down here. And right, as soon as we broke this trend line to the upside, we got a little flag there. And honestly, this one would have been a good entry right here on November 13th. I know you can see it afterwards, so like it kind of makes my analysis purposeless, but you could definitely see that there was a flag forming here, right? This was a flag forming here, right? And then you got a closure above that flag and then an opening also above that flag, right? This two candles right here on November 10th and 11th, right? So you had a closure above the flagging area and then an opening above the flagging area. That's how you knew it was going to take off from there. Anyways, that was another RSI divergence. All right, a small one, a little bitty one, but it ended up being pretty dramatic. Sometimes they fake you out like that. Let's find a good one where it was bad. Right here, this one was also bearish. Okay, so we had a high RSI right here. So we had price going up. And we had RSI going from 77 down to 75. So not a huge divergence, but as you can see, it's coming down while price is going up. All right, let's go draw our line. I'm just going to move it down here. Okay, let's move it to about right there. Okay, and then yeah. All right, and then move it up to about right there-ish. Yeah, okay. So you can see here, this one was pretty good, right? All right, so RSI divergence, we draw our line at the bottoms of the trend. So we created a trend line near the bottoms. This is around the low before we had that first peak, and then the lows after that first peak on the way up. Okay, and then once we broke below it, which was this candle here on August 2nd, where it closed beneath it and then opened beneath it right here, August 3rd was where you really knew it was coming down. Now you suffered a little bit if you went into a put for a few days, but then it dropped off dramatically, came back up, dropped off even more dramatically. I probably would have been out here by August 18th, to be honest. But that's what we're looking for. And now that it broke through this resistance here at 451, right? It broke below that, and then it came down to this one here, went a little further, stopped in this area of resistance between, or support on this case, from 436 down to 431. It got trapped in there and then started reversing, and that's when you knew it was going to go back the other way. Now, going further down, I don't know if I could have predicted that necessarily. I mean, maybe you could have called a double top and be like, and we're going again, and then a double bottom. Like that's when it starts getting crazy. That's when the RSI divergence really was that move from this peak here on July 27th down to August 18th in that case. Let's find one more. Let's go to the 2022 one. There was some really good, actually, there's a bullish one right here. Let's do a bullish one because Bitcoin is looking like a bullish one. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, yeah, it was right here. This one was intense. Okay, so right here, this is where the big double bottom of 2022 happened, and the RSI divergence was there. So we had a downtrend here, right? From, let's see, from somewhere, what, September 26th, September 27th to October 13th. Big dramatic move down in that space. But if we bring the RSI up here, you can see that the RSI actually went up pretty dramatically. It went from 26 up to 28. And that was in a short period of time. So you can see the line is pretty dramatic in terms of its upward movement there. So in that case, right, we come back over here. Where was the high before this low? It was right here. Honestly, you could probably do it back here, but okay, the high before that previous low was right here, and we go across the high after that low, which is right here. Boom. That looks a little bit like a falling wedge, doesn't it? Anyways, as soon as price broke out above this line, which it did right here on October 18th, and then we started getting closures further and further away from it, honestly, the real confirmation was this big green candle here on October 21st. Now, you missed out on some of that upside, but I mean, if you got in here, right, on October 18th, right at the top here at 374, if you got in there at 374, let me draw a line. Let me make it white because that's how I like to make my entries. And you put your closure at the bottom of the body here. You can do the tail too. I like doing the body. Make that one red, and then do a take profit. Let's see. I don't know, even just up to this high here, which would have taken you a while. I don't think I would have waited that long. I would have waited for this resistance right here. Honestly, this is where I would have looked for that resistance right there. I would have gone in here and done like one right there. Boom. And call that one green. And then watch this come up. It came down back to my line, right? And then as soon as it got up here, I would have cut it and been done with that move. This is how I like to do my setups, by the way. I like to do white is an entry, red is an exit, green is also an exit, but in profit. And that was that RSI divergence for 2022. Now, of course, we know it went way higher for it after that, but that's just one way to play RSI divergence, or at least to spot it and chart it. Okay, so we find the lower RSI followed by a higher RSI with lower price. We draw a trend line from the tops of the peaks on the way down, and once price breaks that downward trend line to the upside or downside, depending on whether it's bullish or bearish, then you are looking for an entry. As soon as you get a candle that says this is going to continue, in this case, this big old blue boy right there on October 21st, October 24th would have been your entry. That would have been the Monday after. You could look in there, and then you hold, you set your stop would be at the bottom of that swing low after breaking the line. Your exit for profit would be somewhere where you find resistance above, set it somewhere, find somewhere in that area where you're comfortable taking that profit, and you are setting up that trade for an RSI divergence. Let's see. Now let's go take a look at Bitcoin and how we see it right now. Let me turn off all this. So Bitcoin. All right, we have RSI divergence. Let's make this nice and big. All right, we have RSI divergence on Bitcoin. Okay. So price back here on June 24th had an RSI all the way down to 25. Price yesterday went significantly lower and had an RSI of 28. So we've got our RSI divergence, right? We draw it from here to here, RSI divergence. All right, price was going down. Now let's go find that swing high. That's going to be up here. So let me draw my trend line right here, boom, to this high right here, boom. Now let me make this bigger so you can see it. Oops, let me make it like a 4. Okay, so you can see it. Now I'm going to turn this green because this is a good one. If it goes above this, we're having a good time. All right, so now I'm looking for price on Bitcoin to break above this green dotted line. When it breaks above this green dotted line, it's probably going to be above this resistance. Let's just be real. It's probably going to do it above this resistance. It's probably going to do it fast. So I'll set my entry around here. This is where I'm expecting it to happen, right? Around here. My exit, personally, I'd be looking for my exit. Honestly, I'm looking to the past here. Mm, Bitcoin's a bit wild, so honestly, this one's going to be rough. You're going to take a loss on this if you do that. But honestly, no, because if my entry's all the way up there, I'd be looking for, yeah, anything kind of below the body here. So right there, that would be my exit criteria, assuming I do a short-term trade. If I'm doing a long-term trade on Bitcoin, like anywhere past December 2024, I'd probably be just holding it pretty much no matter what. Now, of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. That's just my thought process when I'm thinking about this type of asset and how I would personally trade it. Now, on this RSI divergence, where would I be looking to take profit if I were doing a short-term swing? I'd be looking at this resistance area right here. And where am I going to place my line for where I would take profit on this particular trade if it plays out? I'm looking, honestly, right about here, right about 68.1. Boom, right there. That's what I'm looking for. That's where I'm looking. Okay, so I'm in fact going to delete my $60,000 mark on here. I'll leave the $70,000 mark on there because why not? I will leave this one on here just in case it goes lower. That's fine. Okay, so for future reference, if you watch the videos and we're trying to keep track of this RSI divergence, we're looking for this green line to be broken to the upside. Once that breaks, I expect price to be somewhere around this white line when it does finally like do a good break of it. It might be closer to like here-ish, like 63, 65, like somewhere like right there. Maybe. Actually, you know what? I'll leave it right there. I'll lock it down right there. Okay. I expect it to be somewhere about right there. And then I'll look for a confirmation candle above this line, and then I'll be looking for a move up to 68.1 around there. And that's anywhere close to this line, like anywhere close, like honestly, anywhere inside of this box. I get a closure of a candle, I'd be looking for a short-term close on that trade, preferably. If I were doing that. Anyways, that is RSI divergence, how you look for it, how you chart it, and what to expect from it, when you see it. Now, of course, it's not always going to play out. Sometimes you'll see an RSI divergence and it just won't work. Like, I mean, sometimes Bitcoin just keeps going up, right? Like back here, you had, let's see, higher price, lower RSI, came down a little bit, right? And then just rocketed off again and did that same sort of thing, right? And then over here, you had a higher price, lower RSI, higher price, right? Between December 5th and January 11th, and you could see this line here, and it did work out, right? Like it worked out, like it did that thing right there, right? And it broke it, and it came down a bit more where you could have done a short on it and made money, but it didn't last very long. It came down a little bit and then just shot off. So it doesn't always work out like great. Like, I mean, I promise you, if you got into this RSI divergence right here and you're like, yeah, it's going to go all the way back down into this resistance down to like 35,000, and then it stopped at 38, you didn't take profit, and then you just lost it all on the way up. Like that could totally happen. So like, don't get greedy. That's an important thing to remember when you're playing with these sorts of things. Don't get greedy. If you see it hit anywhere near where you expect it to hit, like, don't lose money. That's the first rule. Anyways, that's it. That's RSI divergence. That's how you see it. That's how you chart it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and have a profitable day.